From the ashes of a bleak 2011 season came the spark of something new. The Adelaide Crows had fallen far from the powerhouse of the mid to late 2000s. They finished 14th on the ladder with 7 wins on the season, a quick drop off from the team that finished 5th just 2 seasons prior. The Neil Craig years at the helm provided the Crows with many iconic moments in Adelaide folklore. 2 prelim finals in the mid 2000s and many finals appearances. But Craig's resignation after 2 successive years of being in the bottom 8 indicated a new direction for the club. And when Brenton Sanderson walked through the doors at West Lakes, that change led to one of the most exciting seasons in the club's history. One that could have ended with an elusive third flag. Sanderson arrived with a promise, a simple yet defiant one. There would be a quick spike, not a slow rebuild, not a patient waiting game. He believed the Crows could rise again immediately, and within months, that belief began to spread through the walls of the club. Training standards lifted, players began to buy in. The messaging was clear: play fearless, play together, and play for something bigger than yourself. As veteran midfielder Scott Thompson put it early that year, the group's got a lot of hunger. We were embarrassed last year, and that embarrassment became fuel. From the first bounce of 2012, Adelaide looked like a team reborn. They tore through the opening rounds with energy and conviction, bold with ball in hand and ruthless without it. They hunted in packs, attacked through the corridor, and trusted the system Sanderson had built. They smashed the Suns in round 1, backing it up with a convincing win over the Bulldogs, and by round 6, after a 5-point thriller over Sydney at the SCG, the football world started to take notice. Adelaide wasn't just playing good footy, they were believing. It was during that stretch, when the wins started to pile up and the style began to stick, that a 22-year-old Patrick Dangerfield put it perfectly. Team success is a huge factor. I think we've got a huge future ahead of us. The start we've had has been really good, and going forward, we're only going to be a better side the more we adjust to Sando's game style and get to know each other's games. That quote captured it all. The momentum, the excitement, and the sense that something special was building. It wasn't just the fans who could feel it. It was the players, the club, and the city. The Adelaide Football Club had belief once again. Everything that year felt connected, from the coach's box to the forward line. The Crows didn't rely on 1 or 2 stars. They built a brand around unity and effort. Their game was grounded in contested footy, pressure, and spread. A balance between physicality and freedom that made them one of the toughest sides to stop. Sanderson's system gave structure, but it was the players who gave it life. Rory Sloane's courage, Scott Thompson's leadership, and Dangerfield's explosiveness. And up forward, Tex Walker emerged as a genuine match winner. Amy Stadium soon became a fortress again, with opposition sides fearing their trip west. In May, they destroyed the reigning premiers Geelong by 50 points at home in a statement game that sent shockwaves across the competition. That win cemented belief, not just that Adelaide could compete with the best, but that they were among the best. Even when things didn't go their way, Sanderson's calm and trust in the system kept the group grounded. After a tough loss mid-season, he simply said, "It doesn't mean we're a bad side, it just means we had a night where we couldn't get on top of the opposition." That environment of belief and accountability became Adelaide's backbone. As Sloane would later say, the way Brenton and the rest of the coaching staff have gone about creating this really enjoyable environment for us to be involved in, I think there's a big reason why everyone wants to stay around. The Crows continued to surge. Big home wins over West Coast and Fremantle late in the season cemented their place in the top 4. And by year's end, they jumped an incredible 11 spots on the ladder, from 14th in 2011 to 2nd place with 17 wins. For the first time in years, September football in Adelaide carried hope. But as every contender learns, belief will only take you so far. At some point, you need to prove it on the biggest stage. And now, it was Adelaide's time to prove it. Adelaide's return to finals footy began with a harsh lesson. Hosting Sydney in the qualifying final at Amy Stadium, the Crows were outclassed by a hardened Swans outfit that controlled the contest from start to finish. Adelaide's pressure and ball movement, hallmarks of their season, fell flat under finals intensity as they went down by 29 points. But a week later, they rediscovered their edge. Back at home in the semi-final against Fremantle, the Crows reignited that belief that had carried them all year. They attacked with purpose, trusted their system, and refused to yield, grinding out a gutsy 10-point win. It wasn't pretty, but it was full of heart, the kind of performance that reminded everyone, including themselves, that Adelaide belonged on the biggest stage once again. Winning against Freo meant that the Crows were now just one game away from making their first grand final since 1998. It was uncharted territory for a young side reborn under Sanderson, and for the club, it marked a return to September's highest pressure. One game away from a grand final. Their belief was everything. On the 22nd of September 2012 at the MCG, the transformed Adelaide Crows stood on the precipice of a milestone. One win away from a grand final, they faced the premiership favourite Hawthorn Hawks, who had gone through their own hardships over the years to become a polished machine built for September. Few expected the Crows to win. Even fewer believed that they could scare the Hawks. But Adelaide didn't come to fear. They came to fight. And fight they did. They began with purpose. The first quarter was a statement, with Adelaide surging out of the blocks to lead 25-18 to create some fright for the brown and the gold. Their system looked alive, and their belief was tangible. The crowd felt the shift. The Crows were playing with nothing to lose, and everything to gain. As the second quarter unfolded, Adelaide clung on to the momentum, and by half-time they led 45-40. The message within the group was clear. We belong here. The Crows knew that they were a side of quality. They'd beaten Geelong and they'd beaten Sydney, and now they were doing it on the MCG against the Hawks on one of the biggest stages of the year. The game plan was working. High pressure, spread across the ground, and fearless attacking led by the likes of Taylor Walker and Patrick Dangerfield. But soon, the contest shifted. The third quarter belonged to Hawthorn. They found their rhythm and their final steal. 6-3 drew the Hawks clear by 16 points at the end of the third. The Crows' earlier fluency flickered under the Hawks' surge, and unfortunately for Adelaide, the scoreboard began to reflect experience over hope. Yet even then, the narrative refused to wrinkle. In the final quarter, against the odds, Adelaide roared back. After Graham Johncock kicked his second goal of the game, the Crows had miraculously hit the front by a singular point, with just minutes remaining. The crowd felt it. The players felt it. This was their moment.
15 out. Rioli kicks it. Hawthorn by 5. Look at the pickup. Cyril to Buddy. Buddy to kick the goal around the corner. Got it. Buddy's kicked it. Van Berlo needs to get off the man on the mark. Here it is. Taylor Walker's marked.
Inside 50 and Gold inside 30 seconds. Less than a kick.
Hawthorn have won. Hawthorn are into the grand final. Hawthorn have got there by 5 points.
In the final moments, game-saving defence, a crucial mark from Cyril Rioli, and one last surge sealed it for the Hawks. Final score, Hawthorn 97 to Adelaide 92. And yet, the echoes of the game lingered long after the stadium emptied. Within the Adelaide change rooms, there was heartbreak, but also a strange, stubborn pride. For a side that had climbed from 14th the year prior, that had learned to trust, to fight, to believe, they had come further than anyone had ever imagined. Brenton Sanderson's words captured it perfectly. I'm so disappointed for the players because they were so close. But now we've had a taste of it. I'm sure it'll burn and it will hurt for a long time. That burn, that frustration, became a quiet fuel for every player who had stepped on the MCG that night. Or at least, it should have been. The loss should have been fuel. It should have sparked another surge. The Adelaide group had shown that they could climb from 14th to one kick away from a grand final in a year. But instead of purely driving them forward, the heartbreak became the burden of expectation. Suddenly, the eyes of the football world were on them. The fixture grew tougher. Every opponent brought their best. The fatigue of the rise, the pressure of the moment, and the weight of what had nearly been all combined to make 2013 a brutal season. That year, Adelaide fell back to 11th on the ladder, unable to replicate the promise that they had shown in 2012. Within a year, key personnel would depart, and the club would face upheaval. The Tippett saga, draft sanctions, and eventually Sanderson's exit marked the sudden closing of a window that had promised so much. The group that had risen so quickly that had nearly toppled one of the league's powerhouses would see the pathway to premiership glory narrow almost overnight. It took until 2015 for the Crows to return to finals football, and only in 2017 did they once again reach the deep rounds of September, making the grand final, only to fall short once more. The high standards they had set, the belief that they'd ignited, had turned into a mirror reflecting just how much more was required to maintain that level. What could have been fuel became expectation, and expectation became a weight the young squad struggled to carry. And yet, 2012 remains part of the Crows' identity. A moment when everything aligned, even if the scoreboard didn't reflect it. A reminder that in football, like in life, being so close sometimes hurts the most, but it also shapes the resilience, culture, and belief that defines a club in the years to come.